Okay, did we miss anybody in the introduction? Okay, take that as a no.
I think we got everyone. I looked through my list.
Yeah, looks like it. Great. What a great group. Yeah, thank you all for joining today. The first agenda item, I think we're going to skip. That is Recycle Colorado Board Liaison update, unless other, so that is Jessica is our official liaison, but we have other board members here. If anyone wants to contribute anything to that agenda item, go ahead. Put you on the spot. Or we'll skip it. Okay, let's skip it. Julie, do you have a quarterly financials update?
Yeah, I can share my screen real quick. And so folks know, I've been updating the financials in that shared folder that's included in the agenda. So if you're just real bored and want to look at our financial statements at any time, you're very welcome to. And I'm trying, there's a budget versus actuals spreadsheet in there that I think is probably the most helpful thing to look at. So I'm going to share my screen. And hopefully you all can see this. And so again, I've been kind of updating it on about a monthly basis. So this is pretty much where we're at for the year. And you can see our budget that we lined out kind of according to our work plan in column C, the actual amount that we've spent so far this year, and then kind of whether we're over or under what percentage of the budget we've accomplished or spent, etc. So I'll just say kind of overall, we're a little bit under where we projected on the revenue side of things. That's primarily because of this these sponsorship dollars that we just didn't, I think, really kind of go after or secure related to the summit. That was money we raised in 2022 that we didn't raise this year. So that's put us behind a little bit on the revenue side. We're also a little bit behind on membership dues based on kind of what we were anticipating. I know Sean is doing some work to reach out to folks. It seems like there's maybe still some confusion about people getting their COCC dues specifically paid through kind of the Recycle Colorado process. So hopefully we can continue working on that. And I would say to this group, if you know other composters who are not a part of the COCC or they haven't paid their dues this year, to please reach out. I think those one-on-one contacts probably are our best recruiting tool. So that's kind of where we are on the income side of things. And then on the expense side of things, we're tracking pretty much as expected. Our main expense this year has been lobbying costs. That was related to the bill, the organic study bill that was run in the spring. So that was a good investment of dollars, I think. And then we've been spending some money kind of in the marketing realm, some of which was for Lobby Day. We also sponsored a CREF webinar, and we're looking at sponsoring one other event related to kind of the agriculture sector this fall, which I think is maybe on the agenda for later. So tracking pretty closely to what we anticipated spending on the marketing side of things, and then a few just other small expenses for online processing fees and various things. Just a note, if you look at some of the other profit and loss statements, you'll see that Recycle Colorado's staff time is accounted for in those financial statements. We do that for tracking purposes, just to make sure we have a sense for how much time Allie and Liz are spending on compost specific items, but those don't kind of come out of our revenue essentially at the end of the year. So this is where we're at. Any questions on kind of the profit and loss side of things?
Julie, do we have what's our current bank balance?
Great question.
Is that how are we doing with that 8K
we're
sponsor income
fine.
loss?
I'll open it up here. So this 17,611, if you guys can see that, is the balance in our bank account. So we're okay. We've got a good kind of buffer there. That's not going to be an issue. But I think over time we want to make sure that we're not always running a net loss, so that we've got funding to pay for things we want to pay for. Good question. Yeah, Sean?
Is the summit a fundraising activity for us at all? Or I saw that we didn't make our sponsorship goals for the summit. How does that directly impact us? Like, are we supposed to go out and get sponsors specifically for
I
this?
think we can, and I think we did last year, which is why that amount was budgeted for this year, but that was kind of a little before my time as to how that funding came through originally last year. So, but it was associated with a COCC sponsorship at the Recycle Colorado Summit.
And so we don't have any expenses related to the summit, but we also don't make any money. It's just like it's just a wash for us. That's not an opportunity for us. Does that sound right, Allie?
I think it is an opportunity if we were to bring in those sponsorship dollars. We
Okay.
just didn't deliver on that this year.
Yeah, I think last year it was like a specific compost symposium, like separate, I don't know, kind of separate, but with the same days. And so that's why the sponsorship was like compost specific. And so this year, if I was told like this is a compost specific sponsorship that you guys brought in, I allocated the funds there, but there just wasn't any this year. So
Thanks.
Thanks, Monique.
Yeah, that's super helpful. I think that was an opportunity, Sean, that we did not seize the day. So a good one maybe for next year. Yeah, I just wanted to point to the lobbying line item and just to clarify that the budget versus actual, we allotted 5,000. And so that is what we paid to Recycle Colorado for Eliza's time on the CDPHE bill. And I think that partnership and the ability to work with Recycle Colorado and utilize Eliza is pretty cool. So I was pleased to see. Sometimes if you don't come like over or under, it's easy to forget like, hey, look, it matched up. We allotted that amount, and that is what we contributed, and thanks to Recycle Colorado for making that work for us. And I think it's the type of thing would be great for us to keep doing. So yeah, and thanks for these reports. I put the link to all the good work you're doing, Julie, here in the chat, so people can just see. So Julie's constantly updating the files, and at any point you can go in and take a look, which is awesome.
Cool, thank you.
I also want to add, sorry, can you bring that back up, Julie?
Mm-hmm.
Can we look at was there an advertising budget that we pulled out of to sponsor the webinar?
Yeah, that's this marketing budget. So yeah, we had budgeted about 2,000. We spent 1,000 on lobby day and then 500 on the CREF webinar. And that's where we're anticipating pulling another 500 for the event this fall.
That's what I was wondering. Okay. So, just everybody on that meeting, maybe remember that number, because later we're going to talk about sponsoring another event this fall. And do we need to get a vote at this meeting for that, or did we already vote on that?
You're talking about the oh my God, remind me.
The conservation district.
Oh, correct. Yes. So votes only needed if we like substantially change the budget. We talked about it. There seemed to be support, but I do think we try to get consensus, Sean, but I don't think we need an official vote unless we really change the budget substantially.
Okay. Yeah. So that's $500. So we don't quite have that left, but we're going to talk about doing a little membership drive to try to get that money back up too.
And I also think between, somebody tell me if I'm off base here, but typically between each line item, if we're, under budget, that's the right term. we have not spent as much on a particular line item, and $500 is not more than, say, 20% of that line item, I think we can move things around a little bit, as long as we're not, putting ourselves or Recycle Colorado in the red.
Thanks.
Great. Any other questions on financials?
Excellent. Thank you, Julie. Megan Eibach, would you like to talk about the Eco Products program?
I would, yes, thank you. Just real quick, so I think as an industry, we all can recognize and have known for a long time that we need better, maybe procedures in place or some sort of verification in terms of like collecting material and reducing contamination, especially in the compost stream. So obviously everything with A1 has brought a lot of contamination issues to light. And so that kind of jump started our mindset as a compost product manufacturer. But we have basically come up with a verification process. It's not a certification. We're not trying to add another certification or a logo to everybody's business. But basically it's a scorecard that is very, very in-depth. And it basically any kind of operator, large venue, hospital, hotel, music venue, where a lot of this material is being generated from, can use the scorecard to help them check off that they have procedures in place to reduce contamination as much as possible from the beginning. And then there's a piece for hauling and connecting with your hauler. There's a piece for the composter. And basically it's trying to build confidence. So a composter could say, hey, I know what this checklist is. I can work with you and see that, yes, you're doing most of these things, especially the more urgent and serious things to reduce contamination. All right, if you keep that up, I can accept your stream. And again, we can hopefully get back to that like circular, have a better, more circular system and collect more material and reduce landfill waste. So we've come up with this scorecard. We have run it by A1 Organics. They were our first ones to say like, hey, like, what do you think? Let's get your feedback. And now we're in the stage of getting feedback from others. So I just wanted to bring it up to this group. I know I've emailed some of you directly, but I would love, we actually have two kind of feedback sessions scheduled, one on August 29th, and then the next one's on September 19th. And those, will be about an hour long. We're basically just like present the scorecard and then try to give you some time to just check it out. And like, how would this work with your operation? Or do you want to invite someone, like a hauler, or we really just need more composter and hauler feedback. We have run this through some of our large generators across the country, but they're also welcome to join. And if you can't make either of those meetings, happy to schedule something on the side. It's just, we kind of just trying to pick two times that might catch more people's attention and availability. And then what I really love about it, this is, yes, Eco Products has like created this, but it's open sourced. It's available to anyone. We really want this to be used across the country, not just in Colorado, but we need to reduce contamination across the board. And I think it's proven that it can work, but a lot of these processes and procedures need to be in place, and everybody needs to be on board while also recognizing how important contamination mitigation is. So I don't know how we want to do this. I'm happy if you want to email me directly. I can just put my email in the chat. I can also just send Monique and Dan, if you want me, I can just forward you those invites if that's what makes sense, and maybe a little blurb about what it is, and those can just be forwarded out to the membership. I'm open to whatever's easiest and kind of makes the most sense for this group. And does anyone have any questions or thoughts about it right now?
I have a question. What time on August 29th and September 19th?
They're both at 3:30 Eastern time, so 1:30 p.m. on the 19th or the 29th of August and the 19th of September, both on Tuesdays.
Okay, and where can people go to get access to that? Do you want to share that in the chat?
Mhm.
Or you want to, okay, I'll
Yep.
put it in the notes so that
Yes, yep.
anybody reading can get that.
So
And
yeah, I'll just, okay, yep.
sorry.
No, you're good. I'll just drop kind of everything in the chat.
I was
So
also wondering, did you already talk to Angie from CSU?
we are from CU Boulder.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yes, Boulder. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yep. We've been talking to her a lot about a lot of things, just in general. Yeah. So I don't know. I think actually we met with her just individually. I'm not sure what. Yeah. We've been just trying to meet with as many people as possible while also, trying to honor people's time and stuff. But it's really all feedback is great. And, I mean, nothing's gonna be perfect. So how can we make this as like detailed and descriptive as possible? But there's also a place for like an operator say like half of this stuff doesn't pertain to my business. So I think we're even going to create the scorecard. Here's the scorecard. To where like you can design it yourself. You can pull the parts that make sense for your operation and your hauler and your composter and like make your own program. But so yeah, keeping that in mind, if there's something that you see is missing, we can throw it in there. So it's really designed to be like all inclusive. So thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll just put my email and y'all can email me directly if you want to join, or I can send you invites, whatever works.
Excellent. Thanks, Megan. Definitely a worthwhile project. So I encourage you to get in touch with Megan if you haven't talked to her. Also really excited about the next agenda item, which is a potential compost operators training course. If you've been around for a while, you may know that we have done, how many, Sean? 3?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We've had 3 operator training courses in Colorado, which is it's actually great for the age of our chapter, and a lot of it due to having Sean in our state as one of the trainers, and we're especially excited, interested. Can we set up a training course on the Western Slope to spread things around a little bit? So I'm going to pass it over to Sean to talk about that.
Cool, thank you. So the compost operator training course is designed for anyone interested in large scale commercial composting. It's specifically geared towards the large scale. So it's not really directed towards community composters, but it's for compost operators, compost salespeople, haulers. We get a lot of haulers, a lot of regulators, people who regulate compost. So anybody from CDPHE, that would be great. And so this is an incredible fundraising opportunity for our chapter, because when we get local sponsors for the compost operator training course, that money, a majority of that directly goes to our chapter. Jamie.
So I just wanted to say, as a community composter and attending the COTC, I learned so much. So I actually recommend it for community composters because I learned like a wealth of knowledge I would have never known. And so I think it was definitely worth it. And it helps me grow as well.
Thank you. You're right. I shouldn't say that it's not for composters. I'm sorry.
I wanted to throw that in there too. Like the wealth of knowledge that you learn and the amount of years of experience that they bring with all the different instructors from across the country. They find hands down the best training course in the country for learning how to do composting. And then, by the way, you have Sean here, who is now helping to lead the charge, who is a phenomenal instructor.
Thanks.
Yes.
We'll get Clinton to come over maybe on the Western Slope.
I've done it twice, and I I learned so much just from being there to present on marketing side of the world, but like what I learned on the other side, it's just incredible. Such a great
right.
thing.
Yeah, it's totally good for everyone who wants to compost. I think we just had some people that were like, it's not community compost oriented enough. But it's important to have the pathogen reduction and reaching the temperatures for anybody composting anywhere, no matter what they're doing. So, okay, it's for everyone. So, what we're thinking and what the compost research and education is thinking is that they want to go back to sites that are good hosts. And so they go all over the country and do these courses, and they want to continue to come back to sites that are good hosts. And Colorado has proven that we are an incredible host and people like to come to our state. And we have really good instructors here, and we have really good examples of compost to show the attendees. So those are all really important things. The things that we need to look at is a location, a facility that can handle our, like a classroom. And then outside of the classroom, we need to have space to be able to build compost piles. So we have to bring in about 50 yards of material and set up little compost piles outside of, within walking distance of the classroom. We need local experts to come and speak for us, which we have a bunch in Colorado, but are they willing to go to the Western Slope, or is there enough on the Western Slope? Is a question for this group. I think there are, but I want to know if you guys think there are. And then having facilities to tour is really important. And they like to have 4 facilities, a minimum of 4. So I would love for the training to come back to Colorado every year, or at least every other year at a minimum, and go back and forth between Fort Collins or Front Range somewhere and West Slope, because they do that in California. They go back and forth. So it would be cool to go to Grand Junction this next year in 2024, and then in 2025 go back to Fort Collins and just go back and forth. So we wanted to gauge your guys' interest on, do you think there's a need and the infrastructure to be able to do this on the Western Slope? And is there anybody who wants to sign up to help make it happen? So start with that.
I'll
Sean,
be
I will
on your
sign up
committee,
to help.
Sean. Me too.
Me too. I'm in on helping,
Even if it's on the Western Slope?
even if it's on the
Yes.
Western Slope.
Yeah.
Is
Cool.
that for me?
Yeah, both of you. You're both on
Yeah,
there.
100%.
Cool. Yay. And it's Grand Junction. They're looking at October, November 2024. And I said that would be good in Grand Junction. What do you guys think? Chris, you're over in that area. Do you think that's a good time of year for people to come? Is Chris still here?
Wow, would you call Telluride Grand Junction? I don't know. I might be a west.
Well, we wouldn't go to Telluride.
Slope, but you can't just lump us all together, Sean.
Oh, come on, we're used to it. Say, give me the timing again.
October?
Yes, there's Oktoberfest. There's schools in session. So there's less of the flow through. We're going to go, to a specific place for recreation. Yeah, I think that would be a good location, and even Durango people can make it up to Grand Junction.
Yes, we can, and we would love to. Great point,
And
Chris.
October, October sometimes is snowy, so I think Junction makes more sense.
Yeah, totally. Agreed.
Cool.
Okay, so for getting that together, we're gonna need people in Grand Junction to help, which I think I will enlist Jennifer from the Mesa County landfill. I need to tell her that I'm voluntelling her that she's gonna be. So is there anybody else so I have Jamie and Clinton. Anybody else want to be on the planning committee for that?
Yes, me too. I can help. And I might pull it, Sean, I might just put table to farm compost. I might pull in my ops manager or somebody else from the
Okay.
team. to Just help.
Awesome, thank you. And Chris, once we get it all going, we'll have you spread the word to your people around there then. Is there, so we'll have a subcommittee about that, but keep that in mind, October of 2024, if there's anybody on this call who has not been to the training or has operators that they would like to send to the training, that'll be a great time to reduce your cost of sending somebody because they'll be right here in the state. So keep that in mind. I think that's all I really needed to say at this meeting. And if anybody does want to get involved or have me reach out to them specifically. Oh, I see Liz. Liz is going to volunteer her site, but they don't have a classroom. I think we could go to South Canyon. The furthest they usually drive is like an hour one way. So would South Canyon be a site that we could tour? Is that further than an hour?
Hi, Sean. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
We're just about, we're like an hour and 15 minutes from Grand Junction.
Okay.
It depends how you drive on 70, but.
Okay. I'll keep in touch about that. But then for materials, you could send materials down our way if there was any particular things we needed.
If they send a truck.
Okay.
I mean, yeah.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I think
it might be kind of
get most of the stuff from around there.
Okay, yeah, you probably can. It just might be kind of cool because we compost the liquid waste streams.
I know it would be really cool to see your site.
Well, if you're going to be in Grand Junction, you're going to want to go tour the CBI place down in Delta because they do liquid stuff like we do.
Oh. CBI.
Yeah, do you know Forrest? I can send you his contact.
No, that would be great. I don't know.
Okay, I'll send it. And it's in Delta, so it's really close to Grand Junction.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you. That would be great. I think with that, and then 3XM and Erica Sparhawk's place is down in Delta. I'm gonna voluntold her to.
Oh, yeah, that's the same one. Erica and Forrest are brothers and sisters. Yeah.
Oh. Okay, perfect. That's the one then.
Yeah.
Hey, Sean, is there are you thinking Grand Junction because you're thinking of a specific location for the training? I'm just wondering about if you relocated to the other side of the mesa, maybe you're still within range of those Delta facilities and close enough to Grand Junction, and you could probably hit Pitkin as well if you want to get that fourth site.
Oh. Are you thinking like Palisade or like even further? We might be able to find
Somewhere in there.
Because I'm thinking in Junction, the Western Colorado Community College, Brian, what's his last name? The professor down there, he runs a worm compost facility, which is little but cool. And I'm imagining he could help us set up a classroom with somewhere where we could build piles in Grand Junction. But I could look at Palisade.
Okay, great. Yeah, I was just curious what the Grand Junction connection was. So yeah, that's.
And then, sorry, Dan, one more thing. You had mentioned, can we have all female owned facilities, which would be really cool.
It would be.
Or female run facility.
Female operated, yeah.
Yeah, but I think in order to get our minimum, we're gonna have to go to 3XM and that worm farm.
Hey, Sean,
Mhm.
this is going to be a really amazing 8 bunker gorse system running and operating on the Front Range. That happens to be a woman-owned business, but I'll just keep moving on. I'll just be quiet. We'll save that for 2025. And we got Jamie up here, who's going to be running a small ASP system.
That's
Right,
what I'm,
exactly.
Jamie, 2020-25. Here we come.
Yeah.
yeah, I
Do
think
it.
by 2025, we'll be ready to go back to the Front Range because we'll have so much more to see.
Yeah,
It's going to be exciting in 2025. I'm really excited about that.
as Sean was saying, I think a really worthy goal, for a state that's really trying to build infrastructure is to do this annually, and we certainly have USCC's blessing to do that. And it's checks the fundraising box. I think that's a great goal.
Okay, so Diane wants to join. Oh, Sandy, thanks for diversity and inclusion. She said, are there minority-owned sites? I'll have to look into that more. Maybe there's something I don't know about, like there's probably some on-farm operations that are not on my radar, maybe.
There's Sean, let's connect, because there's a new worm composter coming online here in the Front Range, and I gotta double check the background on that one. Let's connect on that.
Cool, cool. Does the grow house in Denver have compost in their operations? Do you guys know?
I don't know on that one.
Okay. So Diane from the Compost Research and Education Foundation wants to come to one of our leadership meetings to just see where we've gotten on this and set a date. Are we doing that in September, or should I bring her in October?
Yeah, I think we can do September 18th.
Is that what we decided? Okay. Okay.
Is that cool with you, Monique?
Yes, thanks.
Okay, is there any other questions about the training course or any other ideas? Okay, I'll follow up with some of the people on the Western Slope to see if we can get that going, and if not, we'll move back to the front. Clinton, yeah.
I guess my question was, when do you think realistically we would have an idea are you saying that 2024 is a go, or realistically we are a go?
Yep. Yeah.
Rock and roll. Okay, it's good. Yeah, because I just
Ready.
want to capitalize on the sponsorship opportunity and get out of the gate as fast as possible for that.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I feel like we've been behind the ball on that multiple times, and getting a package together, whatever we have to create, we do
Tell
it
them
immediately
now
so that
it's
yeah,
in their budget. Yeah.
exactly, 100%.
And they can bring equipment to demo at these sites. So if we get all this ready and confirmed sooner, then we can start telling them exactly where they can bring their equipment to demo it to our audience too. Thank you, because that is our big opportunity, is we need to bring the sponsors. If we don't get local sponsors, we don't really make very much on this. It's not very lucrative. So the sponsorship is our big opportunity.
Cool. Hey, Sean,
Music to my ears.
Sean, we'll sponsor for sure.
Yay! Thanks.
Fantastic. Okay, let's move on if we're ready. Another thing that we are trying to plan is to in the arena of getting compost use more widespread in agriculture. now that if you attended the summit and you attended the presentations on the NRCS and STAR opportunities, we now have, as a farmer, you can now get credit for using compost as a regenerative practice. So the key to doing that and to pushing more compost use in ag is to raise the awareness of conservation districts. Conservation districts are basically the one-on-one connection for farmers to USDA NRCS funding. So it's very important to have conservation district staff that is aware of the many benefits of compost use. So to that end, we are planning to attend the annual meeting of the Colorado Conservation Districts Association, or something like that. Association of Colorado Conservation Districts, I think, is closer. So they have an annual meeting December 4th and 5th in Colorado Springs. We would like to, that we are tentatively planning to sponsor, put a $500 sponsorship in that, towards that, so that we can get a table. There's also potentially an opportunity to present. We have not contacted the organizer of that yet. So wanted to just spend a few minutes chatting about how, I guess, how to share our message. So we'll need, if we're tabling, we need tabling materials. If we're presenting, we'll need slides. Yeah, just any thoughts about how best, does it sound like a good idea? Does it sound like it's worth $500? We have a start to a subcommittee. That's me, Monique, Sean, and Clinton. We are very open to others participating in that subcommittee. I think, let's see, who is actually attending? Sean and Monique are attending for sure, right?
Yes, yeah.
And okay. I may. Yeah, I just wanted to open the floor to thoughts about this opportunity, questions, or anyone wanting to join the subcommittee.
I'll also add that I did reach out to the organizer, but I haven't heard back yet. I asked if we could speak, or no, I didn't. I asked if we could be a sponsor. Clinton, you were going to ask John if we could join his talk.
Yeah, I have that up. Actually, I was just double checking that. I have that up and drafted and ready to go. And yeah, just to co-sponsor with him. He might even be already talking. I don't know. So yeah.
That would be good to know. Yeah.
And the lady's name was Abby, right? Does that sound right?
Yes.
Okay. Yep. She hasn't responded yet. So if anybody else wants to go to that and table with us, that would be fun.
Yeah, I'll chime in. I mean, obviously, if I'm interested in going, I think it's a good idea. But I mean, I think we can do as an industry to be connecting with the agricultural producers that would use our products just makes so much sense to me. And it I feel like the disconnect that happens in the state sometimes between Department of Ag and CDPHE also happens within our community. And I really always view myself as part of the agricultural community. And just because we're permitted by an environment department doesn't mean, right, that I see it any differently. So I think it's a great opportunity to be there. And I would say, like, table to farm compost, speaking of the DEI kind of lens, we're trying to reach out to the NAPI. So I don't know how many folks are familiar with us down here in this region, but the Navajo Agricultural Productions and Industry is actually like this huge, you know, couple 100-acre area just south of Durango near Farmington, where there are all these center pivots, San Juan Chama water that we bring from the South San Juans over to this area where the Navajo produce a lot of food. So, you know, I'm looking for ways to connect with agricultural producers, not just the small ones that show up at the farmers market, right? So I think this is the way to do it. Like, I totally, and I, you know, Sean, you do that through your everyday life because you serve on the conservation district. So I guess for anybody who hasn't thought about this connection, I would just encourage you, I don't know, as a composter, to think about making those connections.
And I'll add that there is incentives from federal incentives from the NRCS for agricultural users to use compost for soil health. And then there's also state incentives. So there's a lot of money going out, and it's going through conservation districts to work with landowners to improve soil health. And compost is one of the things they can do to get paid, or, well, basically pays them to pay composters to buy their compost. So it helps them want to buy the compost product. And that's going on for the next 3 years. So we want to jump on this opportunity, and they don't know, not all of them know that compost is an option. So we need to get out there in front of them and say, hey, you have all this money and you don't know what to do with it. You should spend it on compost.
Well, great. Yeah, I mean, getting more compost in ag is pretty much my reason for being at EcoCycle. You know, I think ever since I learned what carbon sequestration was, that has been my focus. So, you know, I think, you know, widespread soil building is our best hope for mitigating climate change. So, and local resilience. So I'm very excited for this. This, I think, will be just one of many efforts to build relationships with conservation districts, you know, both districts themselves and hopefully the state office. So I'm excited.
Hey, I have a quick question about that, and maybe I'm misremembering from our last leadership meeting, but we are talking about the possibility of sponsoring this for $500 also. Is that correct? And if so, I think, Sean, you had this like fantastic list of what that buys us as a COCC as well, our $500 sponsorship that gets the COCC name out there as well. So I think it's kind of a co-benefit that way. And I don't remember exactly what that list was, and maybe you do, or maybe it's on their website, but just so the rest of the membership that's on this meeting understands that sponsoring does some stuff for us as the COCC as well. So.
It is on their website, and I'll just say a couple things is it gives us a table, which is why we're asking for people to show up and run the table. It also gets us on their website for a year as a sponsor. It gives us a certain amount of social media posts. I can't remember how many, and they will give us verbal recognition so many times throughout the conference as well. And then there's more on the website. Julie, did you have more to add?
No, more of a question. I think this engaging with the agricultural community is great and really a benefit for the industry overall. And if I get some free time, I'd like to make it to that conference. But I had a question. I got an email about a webinar related to an FDA produce safety rule, which is related to applying compost on ag lands that are growing produce. And I wanted to see if folks are already familiar with that, or if this, I wasn't clear from the webinar invite if this is a new regulation, and I can share the links with folks, but just wanted to see if anybody had a quick answer on that, since it's sort of related to this topic.
I only skimmed it. I thought it was talking about best practices, but now I hesitate to say that definitively.
I do know that there are regulations around what you can put on food production, and compost falls within that, in that the compost must meet PFRP standard, the process to further reduce pathogens. And so it has to go through that process and make sure that that is met to ensure human health and public safety. So I know that that's pretty high up there. When it comes to organic, there's even further regulations about inputs, but the FDA doesn't restrict as much as organic. But they might talk about feedstocks and what you can put in there and what you can't.
But we'll share the webinar info if folks are interested.
Yeah, could you throw that in the chat, Julie?
Yeah.
And if anybody's interested, Sean, you just made me think of something else. From the LEAC meeting yesterday, the USCC has actually written a letter to the FDA about opening up comment on rulemaking around feedstocks allowed for organic compost. So that's happening also.
That's really good for some people to know on this meeting who are involved in compostable products.
Totally.
Yep.
Yeah, the USCC wrote a letter and is sending it today, I think. So
thank you.
And I don't know if this is the time, Sean, but there's a couple more that potentially people could be taking advantage of and watching from the USCC webinars. Like there's a great one coming out for webinar if you are a member for the PFAS rules, not rules, but education materials that they provided to help compost manufacturers discuss and communicate what PFAS are, like what's happening in the industry. You know, that's a really great one coming up on August 21st. If everybody hasn't seen that one. And then, of course, we're going to talk about this on our agenda, but the August 23rd webinar from CREF is a great one. And then there is also an operators educational. And I might be getting my dates wrong here. I'm sorry. There's an operational one that Kent Penley, our operator, is a part of that's talking about Compost University and the educational tools that are provided by the USCC to help educate your staff at your operations to get better on, get everybody on a better page. So there's, in the month of August, in the next 2 weeks, there's like 3 really great webinars coming out from CREF and the USCC.
But not say the 29th for that.
Yeah, I apologize, Dan. I might have threw my dates wrong here. I'll confirm them.
I don't see that. I don't see it on my calendar for either one, so I'm not sure.
And if you can put those in the chat, I'll make sure that they get in the notes for everybody.
On it.
Yeah,
Okay.
Lexi, just real quick, Lexi just sent me a draft email to send that climate webinar out to the whole list. So that's going to happen. Thank you for working with her on that, Clinton.
You're welcome. I'll be following right behind it from A1's side of it too. Just as many people as we can get on that one. Well, we can talk. I'll let Dan talk about that. But yeah.
Okay, so should we wait to confirm sponsorship details before we vote on whether we're okay with $500 for this conservation district's sponsorship?
Monique said we don't have to vote.
Yeah, I don't think it's really a vote. It's I think it's looking at the budget and determining with Julie here if there's a line item that's not a substantial change and have, I know, Dan, we typically like ask, is anybody opposed to kind of look for a consensus, but I don't think we need like a formal vote. Yeah. So, and I would just make a plug that I think, similar to supporting the USCC in this climate webinar, that if the funding is there and it's not, putting us, like I said before, in the red, that I think it's a good way to get a Colorado Compost Council name out there. And also, if it's going to provide a table, I would just say, since Sean and I are going to be there, we want to have a table for that exposure. So to me, it's a little bit like, I don't think it's worth our time to go if we don't have a table. I mean, it is, but you know what I mean? That's just a really good way to have that, FaceTime with people. So I think you guys will, if we're going to make the investment to go, you guys want us to have that exposure. So I would say, I would recommend that we have that sponsorship.
Okay, so I guess instead of asking, is there general consensus? Does anyone want to express a different opinion? I don't know, maybe that's putting someone on the spot. I guess, why don't we just raise your hand if you're generally in favor of this line of pursuit, and give me just a second to scroll through all the.
Yeah, or do a thumbs up in your, if you're not on camera or whatever. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, see a lot of hands and thumbs. Awesome. Okay, thank you. Let's see, we are agenda item 7. Oops, I didn't finish writing that, I don't think. That I believe was supposed to say membership drive. Sean already mentioned, and Julie, that I believe that we have had a little bit of confusion over renewing your membership. Did anyone want to say something specifically about, other than what you just said about make sure in your one-on-one conversations that you remind people to renew their membership if they haven't? Is there more to be said there?
I have one more thing.
Great.
So we have changed the way that you renew your Compost Council membership. And so it's not automatically renewed with the Recycle Colorado membership. And I'm saying that because I think that there's people on this call that think that they're a member and are not. So I just went through the whole membership and I recognized a lot of people who are in the organization and very, very involved in composting. And I think they want to be a member of Compost Council. So on this call, the people that have renewed their membership are Monique, Sandy, Clinton, Dan, and Julie, and Jamie. And so if you think that you should be on the council and I didn't say your name, it's because there's confusion when rolling it over. So you have to go on the website and sign up as a Compost Council and pay separately from your Recycle Colorado membership. Monique, what am I getting confusing there?
No, you're totally right. And I just love you for just naming names on the call of yours.
The opposite.
So yes, and by saying it is confusing. So I believe at the beginning of the year, though, Allie sent an email out with an invoice, right? But not everybody gets to a single email, and it's separate. And I wanted to say the reason why we set it up separately, and maybe we could revisit, because if the majority of people aren't getting it and aren't becoming a member, and to your point, Sean, I'm sure they think they are, right?
I thought I was.
Yeah,
I had to
right.
go back. I'm guilty. I totally thought I was and had to go back and send a separate check. So I'm right there with everybody.
The reason we did that, and Allie and I worked on that together, is because it gets really confusing when all the money goes to the same place. So we were trying to really have it clear, especially for the Recycle Colorado books, you know, to have this funding go to a separate account. If that really in the end is becoming an issue for us, I think we could change that. But maybe there are things, exactly what you're doing right now, Sean, that we could do before we change the whole payment system, because Ali spent a lot of time on that, and it's kind of nice that it's separate. You know what I mean? There are a lot of benefits for being separate from a financial standpoint, but if it's not getting the membership dues in, then we got to reconsider it. So just a little bit of background on why we set it up that way. And we could probably do a better job like Sean is doing right now of just hounding people like person. You know, I think we talked at some point, Sean, about sending personal emails, and I didn't follow through. You know what I mean? So
and I have a list of emails, but I just don't know if I'm going to get to all of them. So I wanted to bring it up now to share with each other, share with your company. This is what happened.
I mean, Allie, I don't know if this is fair to ask because you already did this at the beginning of the year, but would you be able to send a reminder to some of the people that haven't paid and CC me and Dan? And then I would be happy to like reply and be like, hey, you know, this is really important. Do you know what I mean? Like and it could even be, I mean, it could even be a group email if it's too much to do one-on-one emails. So I'm happy to help in some way, Sean, to just get that out there. You know?
Yeah, I mean, Sean, if you have the list, yeah, you can send a group email too. This group is pretty like close knit that everyone would be like, oh, okay, you know, or like
okay with it. Yeah, and if you do that, Sean, I promise to like reply to all and do the link to be like, all you do is just got to go here and pay, or I can send that to you in advance and help Sean to just make sure everything's in there to make it easy for people. And
so I was wondering if we could, and I mentioned this, could we have people pay for this year and next year? Because then January, I'm just thinking of people who work for a company that pays for their membership. And then if we ask them now to pay, but then 3 months from now, we're going to say, oh, by the way, it's time.
I know, Sean, I hear you. I think unless Allie disagrees, that's going to be so confusing for the books. You're going to get this money in advance. Some of it's going to be for next year. And then there's like journal entries and blah. I don't know. Or Julie might, I don't know. My sense is that could
well, this year a wash, and we leave it as is and we do a better job next year.
No, I don't think it's a wash. I think that you're absolutely right on that we should be asking. And if you haven't paid, you probably thought you were paid, well, pay now. Hey, consider that cash in your pocket for the first 7 months of the year and pay it now. I think that's okay.
Yeah, I'll just add, as coming from a company that does pay my membership, I'm looking back at the emails and I can't find a COCC specific membership. And we just had a Recycle Colorado business membership. So actually in the beginning of this meeting, I emailed our finance people and I was like, do we have two separate? Because I was already personally like questioning that. But then with our budget, like I have a line item for infrastructure and like memberships and fees, but it's just for the year. So I don't think my company would want to or be able to pay for both next year just because the budget for this year. So, but I like where your head's at.
Thank you. Thank you for explaining. Because that's also what I wanted to bring up at this meeting of like, if your company is paying for it, what do you need from us to make it easier? I see that Liz wants to pay for 5 years.
Oh my God, you guys, I just went to the website and Allie made it so freaking easy. Allie, can I screen share for a second? Yeah. Allie, I didn't know that you did this. Look, if you go to the Recycle Colorado website, you guys can see the madness of how much I have going on right now. That's so embarrassing. Okay, if you go there and you go to memberships, look, it's right there. Allie, that's awesome. That's how easy it is. I love that. All you have to do is go to the homepage, go to memberships. Bam.
Yeah, and then you just scroll down. And on the question of paying for like 2 years, we can do that. It's just a journal entry, which I mean, I'm gonna have to do a journal entry anyways, because some people will pay for next year, like at the end of this year. You know, like it's already gonna happen, so it's fine. They just need to, or you need to let me know that they are gonna pay for 2 years. So then I'm not like, oh, this is a double payment, I should email them and refund them, you know. But
yeah, because there would be no way for them to do it on the website though, Allie. It would have to be by check and
so
you know.
There is, if you just click on that and you pay once, that's for this year, and then you pay again, that could be for next year. Yeah, it's not
like
okay. The membership system that Recycle Colorado has. It's like if you can pay literally for 5 years if you wanted to, but I try to watch it and limit it so you don't. Because Liz Morrow, she accidentally paid 2 years. And so I was like, hey, do you want to pay twice or would you like a refund? So I watch it, don't worry.
So back to the original question that someone asked about what would make it easier for those of us whose organizations pay for all of our memberships. I think, you know, just one notification from someone, maybe a Colorado Composting Council newsletter that says, in order to remove this membership, you need to pay this to this organization by this date and this to this organization by this date, and just have it all in one place. Because I know that sometimes what the USCC memberships renew in like June or something like that, right? So, which is not on the calendar year. And then Recycle Colorado, of course, is on the calendar year, I think, right, Ellie? And then I'm not even sure how the COCC, I can't remember if that's a calendar year or not. So since they're all different renewal dates, just having something that says, we understand this is staggered, but these are the 3 things you need to do every year or sometime during this year to remain a member would be helpful. So.
That's a good point, Allie. That could be something helpful to just add to the website, like right above membership. It's on the calendar year.
Yeah, I agree.
Your membership dues are pay for that calendar year. Even a note that says your membership dues pay for the calendar year that they're made in. If you double, you can pay for a year in advance if you paid what, something like that. Yeah, to Sandy's point, that's a really good clarification. And, you know, just remember, this is new. This is only the 2nd year we're doing this. So I think, you know, I think we just need to get the hang of it. It's very clear on the website. I think if you go to I mean, your drop down menu is just like hit you in the head clear. So I just think we all have to get in the habit, and then those of us here in leadership can do a better job of reminding everyone. Thank you, Sean. So we'll do that.
So yeah, I'll send some emails, and I will, I just wanted to bring it up on this call because I know that it's something that we could easily like check off the list if we just knew that was a thing that happened. And then next year, let's keep it on our radar to be on top of that, like right after the Recycle Colorado renewals go out, just so that we can look at the list and get on it when we notice that this happened right away. Thank you. That's all I have for that.
Okay. Next agenda item is that just a note that the International Compost Awareness Week poster contest will be open from September 1st to November 1st. So there is a link in the notes if you'd like to, so please share that link with any artist friend or maybe a kid who likes to draw or design, anyone who might be interested in making an entry in that poster contest that is coming up very soon. Does anyone else have anything to say about that?
Maybe we can get the cool, oh, sorry, Clinton, go ahead.
Oh, you can go, Sandy, you go first.
Oh, just an idea. Maybe I'll hand it on to the Cool Boulder folks and see if they want to disseminate it through the Cool Boulder ranks. That would be fun.
That'd be great. That's a really good idea. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's pretty amazing. I mean, it's an international poster contest, so people from across the world submit, which is really kind of cool to be a part of that whole group. And then Dan, I was just trying to dig it up, but there's a video contest too. Did they release the date on that, which is usually for like 5th grade and under? Video contest. It's like a minute-long video contest. Did you see that come down the pipeline yet?
Is it mentioned in that link? I recall seeing something about that, but where? Yeah, it's mentioned. Yep, offered to children and teens aged 10 to 13.
10 to 13. There you go. That one.
30-second video.
That one's really fun to share out to middle school. because
That's
that is a
cool.
really cool 30-second video about what your passion, like the definite, like for their theme for the year. And that one's been growing. And yeah, so another, hey, easy content for all those social media people out there. Put that out.
Yes, yeah, very true. So thank you so much for bringing that up. That's exciting. Okay, let's see, 3:22, we're doing okay. So next agenda item, Monique wanted to give a presentation about a study that she did on compostable packaging. So turn it over to you, Monique.
Yeah, and I would just say, I think the agenda item right after me is this webinar and for the USCC that we sponsored. And I just, because literally Lexi's about to hit send on the newsletter. So, because I just emailed her back. Clinton, I just texted you something direct about, because it costs $19, about whether our sponsorship could include some kind of a code, so not everybody has to pay. So maybe while I'm presenting, we can multitask about that. I'm just thinking if Lexi sends something out and there's maybe a code that people could use so they don't have to pay to watch this webinar, that would be great. But I'll just let that be. And then, yes, we can go back to the presentation. Yeah, so, I was going to kind of, just kind of let some of the results of the work that we did sit. And the more that I thought about it, I just realized what a great experience it was, all of the colleagues that I worked with, and that sharing just real briefly with you guys, the results and kind of the methodology might be helpful. And the cool thing here is that I heard through the grapevine that Jamie is, well, she introduced herself as a part of CRF, but I think CREF, that you are helping Jamie with the compostable packaging study for future participants. Is that right, Jamie? Oh, you're on mute.
Yes, that is correct. So we're actually about to send out some emails to get some more participation from other composters, facilities, and community composters as well. And we're going to be doing a webinar about it as long as you talk to us and get invited on September 7th. And that's exclusively for potential partners and testing sites.
Awesome. All right. Well, that's great to have more capacity, because I really think it was mostly Emily, who has another full-time job trying to get all of this done. And I obviously, as I present the results here for us, that we felt it was a very valuable process to go through. So if you have questions, you can go straight to Jamie, which is awesome. And then a shout out to Megan Ibach, who's awesome, because she, as well as others with some of the compostable packaging companies, really worked directly with us on this. And we can't do this alone. So I reached out and actually between sponsorships and just other, relationship building, was able to cover some of our costs at Table to Farm to put this together. Because as you're going to see, this was no small feat and it took a really long time. So I just put the PowerPoint link in there, and I'm going to go really quickly through it because you're probably all already brain dead anyway, although I do have some fun pictures in here. And if you want more information, you can just, I've got the full 60-page report basically, which I can actually also put in the chat when I finish presenting. So let me share my screen here. And then I would say, let's see, if you have questions, during this, just, I'm not going to be able to see your hand pop up or whatever. So either Dan could moderate or just shout out at me. It's fine. So our mission at Table to Farm Compost is to recycle food waste into compost and save the earth. We really take that seriously. And part of kind of the beauty of, I think, what's coming out of the compostable packaging study is relates directly to our business model. So some of the things that Megan was talking about earlier, and I think we talk about as an industry in terms of like the relationship between the hauler and the composter. Some of us on this call, right, are vertically integrated, and we have a circular business model. So Table to Farm Compost is one of those smaller composters that we're able to keep all of the resources, whether that's, you know, environmental or economic, in that circle. And so when it comes to compostable packaging and using it, we're the hauler, and we can really, you're going to see, I think towards the end of the study, we can really create a program that I think it's going to be interesting to test out. Could be interesting to see how we can have control points throughout the process. So the study starts with this crazy picture. So I shared this with my staff, and Chris, our operations manager, was like, "Oh my God, where did you find that picture? Like, was I around when that happened?" And I was like, "Yeah, well, I went into MailChimp because I took that photo 3 years ago and I couldn't find it anywhere." And I was like, "I remember the email where I sent it out." So I went into MailChimp and found it. We opened Pandora's box and started taking compostable packaging liners, which, by the way, break down great, right? Which is an interesting part of the story. It's just that it's not only how much a particular product might break down and disintegrate, but how many of them do we have, and how are they getting mixed into the feedstock? And so we sent this picture to our customers, and they were like so mortified. And so when we took the bags away, I thought, oh my God, it's going to be holy hell. We really didn't get that many complaints because people saw the photos and they were like, all right, we get it. But, you know, they ended up in the trees. I literally climbed into the trees at the farm and took, you know, picked up every single one of these bags. And we said never again. Well, you know, it's easy to put your head in a big hole. I do that a lot, but we can't really do that forever. So, you know, we are looking at whether or not we can use some compostable products. But anyway, this is the before picture. You know, this is after. I mean, what a beautiful compost site. I mean, there's no trash. It's just amazing. You know, we're really proud of that. And yeah. So that just kind of goes to show why we take this so seriously. And if I'm a hard ass, that's kind of why I'm a hard ass, because that's what I was dealing with. You know, our final product looks like that. You might find a sticker every once in a while. And I kind of think the stickers are kind of fun, you know, and say, hey, well, you know, it came from food scraps, right? It's a good source. So this took us forever to do. And really the only reason we did it is I kind of got pushed into it, in all honesty, because I was like, no, you should see the pictures of the farm. I'm not going to do this, right? It's like, well, again, I could put my head in a big hole, but that's really, I mean, people are using single use products. So is there a way that we could do this? So we started talking with some of our folks in the community. They actually brought this to us and they said, we want to do zero waste events. And I said, well, you can do zero waste events. We're the only composter in town. So who are you gonna send the compostable products to? That was in January of 2022, you guys. We started that discussion. And, you know, months later, this particular individual had put together this whole big picture program, and that since hasn't really, you know, taken off. But it was at that time that we learned about the Compost Research and Education Foundation study and template. It was actually my ops manager that found it, like, hey, you know, they've already come up with a template, and you'll see it here, that a methodology that allows you to test your packaging. So I said, well, the only way we're going to move forward is if we do that. So we started that in 2022, the fourth quarter, and it took us about a year. I worked with Emily, who she's based in Vancouver, and she's in charge of the program now with Jamie. And, you know, it took me like 6 months to even find the products I wanted to test, you guys, because I mean, I'm sure all of you know, but like, even for me, I went out and started looking, okay, I want to do this product. Wait, I'm confused. Is this recyclable or is this compostable? Like, when the devil really gets in the details, not when you're just picking up something to use it, but when I was putting together this particular, you know, research project. So, I mean, it took me probably 2 or 3 months to finally decide. And it's thanks to folks like Megan and others at different companies that I approached that helped us determine which products we were going to test, because you can't test them all. And you'll see that in the methodology. And I'm sure Jamie could talk to you about that more. And then the initiation and the completion, you know, it took another 6 months. Anyway, here we are 2 years later. You know, there's a reason it takes that long. And I'm really I feel very strongly about the results that, they're good results because we followed the methodology that folks at the U.S. Compost Council put together. So, and you can come up with your own goals. So, I mean, if you work with Jamie on this, you'll see one of the things you do is decide what you as a composter, what your goal would be. So our goal was really to identify materials that will disintegrate at our facility, and based on the results, would we even consider opening it up, opening our facility up again? And that's kind of our call to make, but that's kind of what we said. So when you embark on this, you're also because it's part of the Education Foundation, you're also testing this baseline data. And that's, I think, one of the really key points that I'm sure Jamie could underscore at her webinar, right? Is like, we need a certain amount of data as a community to better understand compostable products. And so when you sign up and get the support for the program, you're also testing this baseline of basics products. And so that's one of your bag sets. You'll see what I mean by bag sets in the next photos. And then you come up with your own compostable products. So bag set 1, bag set 2, those are table to farm compost. Those were the products that we decided to test, which is quite a lot. I think Emily recommended not to do more than this. And you can kind of see why, because you do 6, you have to have, oh gosh, the word's not coming to me, but replicability in each of your, right? Because if you have an outlier in your data set, you need to have 6 of each to make sure that your data is solid at the end of it. And so that just creates a lot of information, and it takes hours to crunch it all. So you can see we did everything from like hot cups to clear cups to spoons and coffee bags. I had a particular coffee roaster that wanted me to test a bag, so we did that. And then I had a particular ice cream shop that wanted me to test a spoon, so we did that. So we worked with some of the really great companies in Durango that want to be able to use some compostable products. So at the end of the day, here's what we selected. And so part of your process, if you embark on this, is to take photos of every single one of these products. You weigh them, you measure them. The 60-page report is going to show you all the stuff that we did, because that's critical data, so that when you pull these fragments out of your compost pile, you can see how much they disintegrated. I think, Jamie, you should, you know more about this than me, so if I say something that's incorrect, you should just butt in. But it's a disintegration analysis. So the pass fail is you're looking at how much does something disintegrate. It's not a, it is compostable or not compostable. It's an analysis. And so I've got just like a little photo essay, which we thought was kind of fun. So we said we were going to take 90 to 120 days through our windrow process. We measured temperature, bulk density, moisture throughout that time frame. We started in the middle of winter because it took so long to get started. But we're like, okay, well, now it's January, and so we're starting with compost in January, so it's fine. And then you can see the scale for bulk density and the rope to tie all the bags together to ensure you can find your products at the end of the day. And that's kind of what it looked like. So, Emily was great, and the resources at the Compost Research Education Foundation were great, but until you do something, it was kind of confusing. Like, what are these orange bags for? I don't know. Hopefully some of these photos will just help you see basically what you do. And there's a lot of resources for you to understand it, but you're picking out the products and then you're mixing compost with them in the bags, which is so key because, we had been asked before to test products. You just throw them in the middle of the pile. There's no way to really understand the disintegration if you're just throwing products, randomly in the middle of your pile. So these bags were just brilliant, worked really well. You tie them together so you can find them. And so that was us building basically the piles to test them. And we put this pile, in a separate area so that we knew where we were. And then at the end of the period, which I think was the maximum amount, is either 120 days plus. This is my Fort Lewis College intern. It was a perfect intern project, by the way. We basically sorted, you open the bags and you sort to see what you can find. And we thought this was kind of funny. And this is one of the coffee bags. It's no one that we know, but one of the products, it says compostable on it. We're finding fragments that say compostable, so we thought that's kind of neat. Anyway, so the results, what we did is basically, right, we had all the weights. I used this little, weight that I use for my soil food web work, and we measured the fragments and then we weighed them. And that's how we got our disintegration analysis. You have 6 of each type, right? So, presence, absence. Did you find a fragment of the product in that bag? If no, that's 100% disintegration. That's not perfect because sometimes maybe you don't find the fragment, but generally it worked pretty well. And then if yes, right, you weigh it and you measure it, and then you can get this disintegration analysis. It was very key that you put different kinds of products in each bag, because otherwise if they look the same, you're not really sure what you're looking at. And actually, Jamie, that was one piece of feedback I have for the program. The test set, a lot of the products look the same. And when I couldn't do a very good analysis because they looked similar. So, but most of them actually disintegrated great. But we might talk offline about that, because just the striping, on some of it looked the same. But for us, so you'll see like the agave straw. I'm going to tell you more about that. We didn't. I mean, actually the bags did pretty well, and we had a lot of good disintegration. The coffee bags didn't do great. So we initially said, okay, 95% disintegration is our goal, but I think it's that, and, taking a look at the fragments and how products did, we're going to make a determination of what we'd like to see. One of the trends that I saw, and I need to sit with the data more, is that maybe this seems obvious, right? But this is why you do research. But fiber and plant-based products did so much better than cornstarch and sugarcane and corn-based products. And maybe it's like, oh yeah, well, that makes sense. Well, the data shows that. When I look at the products that just did exceptional, they tend to be fiber-based products. This agave company, and I apologize for anyone who might know them or work with them, but there's a sustainable agave company that was 0 disintegration, total failure. So I'm going to show you some of those pictures. But other than that, all the other products did do okay. Clinton, do you have data on this company? Because I need to approach them.
No, I think it's important to, and maybe I missed you in the beginning, but your technology is windrow.
Yes, turned windrow. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think it's just really important to specify that you're using windrow technology for your compostables, because that's reflective of the type of compostable products that will break down and why, based on the material they're made from.
Yeah, and I did mention turned windrow, although when you see this one product that I don't understand. Yeah, anyway. So yes, your methodology and how you compost makes a difference, but when you look at some of our results, I mean, we have many products that broke down completely, and one in particular that didn't even change its form at all. We basically tested like 14 products, right? So I don't know. At the end of the day, when you have that much data, I think it does call into question if one particular outlier, and I'm going to show you that one, that I think that's meaningful, because every other product broke down using our turn windrow process. Every single product broke down except for one. Now, the degree to which it broke down is what we measured. The other thing that, Jamie, my other piece of feedback is the bags worked so well because they're contained. One of the issues that we have is we're not composting in bags, right? Which is actually to Clinton's point. And so sometimes what happens is the compostable products just get kicked out, right? They get, and again, to Clinton's point, they get kicked out of the pile. So we don't have a way to manage them in a container the way that this particular methodology did. So I think these results are exceptional in an environment where basically those products were contained with the compost and they couldn't get kicked out, or an animal couldn't come and grab them. So it's just a point to notice. So just to give you a sense of the percent disintegration in our understanding of pass fail, which is maybe not the best wording, but what we would think, worked for disintegration at 95%. And this is a table that we created. So this is not something, and I talked with Emily about this, Jamie, because there was no way. You basically collect all the data and say, okay, here are the number of fragments that we found on this particular product, but there's no way for me, Table to Farm, to say what's the percent disintegration. So I came up with this to say, okay, for example, company A, it was a lined hot cup. I had six potential data points, right? There were 6 of those cups and 6 bags. I only found 2 fragments, so call it a fail, which again, there's probably a better word. And those 2 fragments were 1.8 grams, and the initial weight was 12.36 grams, right? So that's how I got my percentage. There's probably some discussion that we'd want to have about that. It gave me a sense of, well, out of 6, there was only 2, I only found 2. So that was kind of my madness of trying to figure this out. There wasn't a way necessarily for you to come to that as your own composter. Yeah, do you have thoughts on that, Jamie?
Yeah, so are you trying to like give each item a score?
I'm trying to say for each product, what was the disintegration percentage? And then did that for my goals for Table to Farm, did that pass my goals or not?
Okay, so I guess, oh, never mind, I see it right here, average fragment, right? So you're taking everything that failed and just averaging what that weight is. Okay.
I mean,
interesting. Something for me to think about.
Yeah, okay. And there wasn't guidance necessarily on how I should do this. So I kind of came up with it. And then Emily was like, yeah, I guess that.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. And you'll see like there's some products here that I didn't find any fragments of at all. And in that case, it's very clear. So, again, Agave, Sustainable Agave Company, I've reached out. The thing about this particular company is they have the BPI, logo on their website, and my ice cream vendor was using these because there's a lot of good information on the website, but you guys, that's a problem regardless of what methodology you're using for compost. When it looks like that on the left and that on the right, after 4 months, when every other product broke down, that is a problem. I found almost every single one of those spoons and almost every single one of the straws. So something's up, right? We got to get to the bottom of it. So the first thing I did, and that was it was one outlier like this. So I did approach BPI and I said, what don't I understand about your process? And then let's talk to the company, because it's not okay when a vendor, goes to a website and they see something like this, that it's tequila waste and that it's compostable. And, if something wasn't clear on the website, well, this is what I saw. I saw the BPI logo and I saw this spoon on the website. So I'm like, I don't know, you guys, it's not okay. So something's up here. So I just thought, well, I could either just let this go, or I could just take some time to better understand, the BPI certification in this particular company and see if we can get to the bottom of it. I kind of feel like I have a certain amount of responsibility to do that, because I just spent the last year of my life trying to get some of these results, and I feel pretty strong about the results that I have because everything broke down very well in our compost process. So that was kind of the one company, and we could only test so many things. The other outliers still broke down, but again, the cornstarch based products did not do the best. We had, and I talked to Megan about this when we're looking at it, we had this kind of one weird thing where some of the clear cornstarch products, they turned white. And I had 2 instances of those, and I thought those were interesting. So I'm just not sure what to do with that. And then in some cases, it totally broke down. So that product was interesting. And same with the utensils. I found that the fiber, let me just show you this, these fiber spoons just broke down so much better than anything that was cornstarch based. So just a thought for all of us as an industry on what worked. So, and again, EcoCycle, Vegware, and World Centric work directly with us, and we're sharing those results with those companies. And if there's ways we can improve, we want to do that. I didn't reach out to anybody from Sustainable Agave Company, but I will. So what we thought we would do based on these results, because we understand the reality of single-use products, is maybe see if we could put an event guide together, and just based on the products that we felt really good about, do a limited release with one-on-one events and see, okay, if we get a certain amount of compostable products on the ones that we thought did really exceptional, and we keep them in a different pile, how does that work for us? Is that something where we can support, some events that want to be zero waste? Because we would feel really good about that if we could do it in a way that kept our site really clean. And Table to Farm would be the vendor. So I want control points in every single part of this. So I am going to purchase that product that I tested directly from Megan and directly from World Centric, and then I'm going to provide it. to the event. I don't want them coming up with some product that's slightly different, right? I mean, you guys know how crazy it is out there. So we would get the products that we know work in our system, to Clinton's point, at our facility. And then we would work with the vendor and the event. We'd have somebody at the weigh station. So we put together, it's kind of a little test. We put together, oh, here, I'll go back to that later. Oh, no, I guess not. So we put together an event guide, and I'll show it to you later. And we're going to try it and see if, you know, if we use some of these products, how will that work? So anyway, I've already though told Cream Bean Berry about these spoons and how well they did. So they went from the agave spoon to these fiber spoons, which I thought was pretty cool. And, you know, little steps there. And then here are the products from World Centric that broke down in our facility. They're all fiber that we felt good about and didn't find fragments of. Vegware, these two products did exceptional. Actually, I don't think we found any fragments of either of those. And then Eco Products, these two products, that cup in particular, did really, really well. And the clamshell did well. So those, you know, they're not all the products that in theory passed or failed, but those are the ones that we felt did really well and would potentially, if we did an event, you know, cover the items that you need at an event. So we're starting to put together, I think this, you know, Megan's talking about this in a lot of the spreadsheets she's putting together, which is really helpful, you know, and so we're coming to the same thing. Well, let's identify the products that work well with a number, because there's so many out there, and say that these are the products that Table to Farm would take at an event where you can see the teenager here from the green team at Durango High School. She's standing at the weigh station, one weigh station, always somebody there. So that, you know, you can't just, you see the Table to Farm bucket, you can't just show up and put the wrong thing in there. So we won't hold an event unless there's a volunteer standing at the weigh station. I don't know if it's feasible, but we thought, okay, so here are some of the things that we would do. You can see on this event guide, we will work with you, you know, to have somebody at that weigh station. We will directly give you the, you know, provide the products to you. And if we work with the vendors, we can probably get some good bulk discounts, right? And then we will also not take, so Clinton will appreciate this, we say if it's contaminated, we're not going to bring it back to the facility. So you will have paid for a zero waste event where we have to throw it in the trash, right? So it feels kind of hard edged, but we felt like if we were going to open that Pandora's box and really take the results of the study that we spent so much time on, that's how we would do it. So I'll pause there because it's almost 10 to 4. Thanks for letting me share this. I just felt like as a community of composters, it would be wrong for me to just sit on all this and not take the time to try to show it to you. So do you have any questions? Do you have any criticisms? Let me know.
So other than events, right now you have no, no plans to add compostable ware to your guidelines?
Correct. We are right now going to try 1 or 2 events and see how that does, with the exception of the spoon, only because Cream Bean Berry, she's been a customer from the beginning, and so she really wants one product that she can use. And then we do have some vendors that use paper, or some customers that use paper straws, and those actually do great, so we've always accepted those. So yeah, not yet, Dan. But as we get bigger, what we've talked about, our operations manager thought we could have one, because now we have a 4-acre site, we could have one long windrow that maybe is the windrow that we take compostable products with. But I don't want to get in a situation where that picture that you saw, where we have so much that now we're trying to clean up the mess. So I think we're definitely not going to open it up to our curbside customers yet. Events we can monitor, right? And I can decide 3 events a year. Yeah, go ahead, Clinton.
Well, I wanted to say thank you for sharing what you've shared, and thank you for taking the time to do the work that you did, because it reinforces what A1 has been saying for years now, that and why we've gone to CMA approved only, because of the field disintegration testing required. And so, yeah, I think it's great, and I think it's awesome that you're doing the work, because it's the type of work that needs to happen to really focus on how can compostables be used in our industry, how can they support diversion, but yet also how can they not turn into just a single-use product that is causing so many challenges in the stream on a large scale. So I love it. I think it's great, and I appreciate you for sharing. And there's more about this field disintegration testing and what's passing and what's not passing. That's coming very quickly, very soon. And it's what we've been screaming for years. Like, we got to make sure they work in the system and they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. And Megan knows this really. Megan and I have had so many conversations about this and talked, and I commend you. So thank you for sharing. It's really great.
Thanks, Clinton. It makes it feel worthwhile. It was definitely a headache. By the
It
time
is.
you
It's
got
it's
a
a
headache.
lot of work. It is. It's a lot of work, and it like it's part of this what we call paradigm shift. It's part of this reset here. It's part of looking at these tools and making sure we're using the right ones in the way they need to be used. And we have plans to do similar things on a larger scale. But yeah, I mean, focusing on controlled events like you're talking about, like where
Yes.
there's a lot of control mechanisms in place
Yes.
that you can really focus on it, is where we believe too, is where we start. And this is where we learn. And then we create a system that's really going to work. So awesome. I could go on for an hour on this, and I'm going to stop because I have to go pick up a soccer kid. Okay.
I'll just add that when you had mentioned your very last slide about the things that you're doing to ensure that this is done correctly, and it might be kind of extreme to ask for that. I don't think that's extreme at all. I think that's what everybody should be doing, and that's what I used to do as well in my community, and it really worked. And we if people weren't going to man the stations, we wouldn't take it. We would reject it, and we'd still charge them. We'd charge them for the extra container there, and we'd just like, yep, they paid for that whole event, and it all went in the trash, and they paid extra because they didn't get the diversion. So
Yeah.
not extreme. It should be the normal.
Yeah, I appreciate that support. Sometimes I feel like the Grinch, which is my icon that I use on a regular basis.
No, it's all about quality, clean composting at the end. That's what we really want.
Can't argue with those before. Go ahead, Chris.
Just a quick shout out to Front Range Company, Planet Bluegrass, because they've been supportive of my efforts with the compostable products from the very beginning, and the compost crew. And that's been going on now for, 10 years, I think. And so at some point, I don't know if you're connected with them, I can, because they have pretty good data from what they've been able to divert, and in a very large festival. I mean, 10, 12,000 people a day. So pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh my God.
They don't do the reuse down there at Telluride like they do in Lyons.
No, too big. It's just,
Interesting.
12,000 people
Yeah.
doesn't work.
Okay.
Yep.
What was that company called, Chris?
Planet Bluegrass.
Thanks.
And they're out of Lyons. And there are, like, I think the wine people might have, there's like $1 discount if you bring your cup back, and the same with the beer booth.
Yeah.
But so they do have some of that, but yeah, there's, I mean, the volume on that one, the 12 to 14,000 people a day is an interesting challenge for sure. But I just love working with those guys.
They really encourage the reusable cups and sell reusable cups. And even there's like this nice stainless steel ones, and then there's one that's like plastic, more affordable, but they try to use those as much as possible for reuse and give a discount. Yeah.
Yep.
They're awesome.
Yep.
Yeah. Thanks, Monique. This is great. And I love how detail oriented you are. I feel like I've learned a lot more about you just like watching you go through this, and how like detail oriented you are. I love it. It's great.
And what a grouch I can be.
No, honestly, we could take this offline too, but like, honestly, I think you are right. And you can open Pandora's box very easily. There's lots of keys for Pandora's box. And so you staying really strict and serious and making your community take it seriously from the beginning, I think it's just going to have paying dividends moving forward, because people are listening to you and will take you seriously and want to do what you say is okay. And that is one of the luxuries of being in a smaller community. Like, you have more of a intimate connection with your businesses, and they want, you can share the same goals. And I think, that's another issue with Front Range and any other large city, is there's so much happening and so many different people. And companies and sayings of what's what, and that's not actually true. So I think power to you, and stick with it, you know, and do whatever's best for your business, right? It's your business, and it's your compost stream. It's your product that you're manufacturing. Like, you have to keep it as clean and as viable as possible. So do whatever it takes.
Yeah, thanks, Megan. You know, it's interesting that the ice cream shop that I mentioned, she was like, Monique, this is so awesome. Thanks for doing this for the community. Hey, can I put these 2 other products in there? I'm like, Katie, I didn't test them. No, you can't. Do not. But people are so excited because they want a solution, right? So she was like, hey, I'm going to use these 2 other products. I'm like, no, you're not, because I didn't test them yet, right? But maybe we can test them next year. Let's try to test them next year. So yeah. Thanks, Megan. I know there's other things on the agenda, Dan. So I don't.
There are, yeah. So yeah, that was very impressive and fascinating. Thank you for that. So yeah, we have 3 minutes left. We're not going to be able to cover all of this stuff. I would say the leadership team updates, why don't we share that information via email?
Can I just add real
Yeah,
quick?
go ahead.
In the interest of time, if everybody wants to just look at the agenda, for the bottom of the agenda, it looks so busy, Dan, because I put all the resources that everybody's been sharing throughout this meeting on the agenda.
Okay.
So we don't need to go through that. It's just a recap of all the webinars, the announcements, press releases, anything that's been shared in the chat is on there at the bottom. So everybody just go ahead and read that.
Oh, and I linked to my PowerPoint in there. Good idea, Sean.
I put that in there, or you had it in there already.
Yeah,
So,
sweet.
yep. So, okay, go ahead. Can carry on. Close us out, Dan.
Fantastic. You guys are awesome. Okay, so yeah, like I said, we will send a leadership team update via email. I will, since we have 2 minutes left now, I will mention that we are reviewing, we're initiating a review of our operating agreement with Recycle Colorado with an eye towards solving that riddle of how we represent ourselves in the policy realm. We hope we have a solution to propose that we simply identify ourselves when there's an impasse with Recycle Colorado board, that we identify ourselves. Well, I should say impasse, or if the Recycle Colorado board is simply not addressing it, such as, you know, we've already kind of violated this our agreement by advocating for the Federal Compost Act when that first came out in 2021, I think. So we did not seek board approval for that. So there are instances where, you know, it'd just be very helpful to be able to speak in the policy realm for ourselves. So what we're proposing is that we simply identify ourselves as the state chapter of the U.S. Composting Council, rather than as an affiliate as a committee of Recycle Colorado, and probably not use Colorado Composting Council either. So because that is probably too closely associated with Recycle Colorado. So we're going to initiate that soon. So stand by for more info on that. And it is now 4 o'clock. So thank you all for participating today. Lots of great stuff, lots of good enthusiasm, and lots to come. So yeah, we need to work on our 2024 work plan. So we'll get that going via email as well. So thank you all, and have a great evening. Good to see y'all.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone. Goodbye.